So tonight we're gonna have guacamole burgers because of all that guacamole I made yesterday. But I need to make buns. And I promise one of these times I'm going to show my face, but it is like 105 degrees and so not appropriate for camera. Yeah. So, anyway. I'm actually gonna make sure you can't see me. I put a cup of warm water, like lukewarm water, or kind of bathtubby-ish water, with this packet of yeast, so that's 2 1/4 teaspoons, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, teaspoons, pretty sure. Anyway. So, I'm going to mix that together. And usually, you know, when you're working with yeast, you have like sugar or something. I'm going to get to that, so I promise. But this recipe's a little bit different. And I just love these buns. So, I'm going to put 1/2 cup of flour in here. Like, it doesn't have to be that accurate, you know, you're going to kind of mess with it as you need and put in whatever flour is enough to make it not sticky later, so it doesn't have to be terribly leveled or perfect. Just like everything else in my life. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just mix these 3 things together. So the yeast, the flour, and the bath water, temperature water. It's a cup. Did I say that? Cup of water. And then I'm going to let it sit for 15 minutes. But while I do that, I'm going to melt 3 tablespoons of butter. But I am going to shut the camera off for that because 15 minutes is no fun to just stare at that. Okay, so I have my melted butter. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to, in whatever, this little tiny thing, I'm going to put an egg. And you'll want another egg for later too for the wash. We're going to do 3 tablespoons of sugar. You could do about 1/4 cup. I mean, it's almost the same. It is the same. I don't really know. But yeah. 3 tablespoons of sugar. And you know, if you're actual cook, you would know not to measure over the thing that you're putting it in because it could spill in there, but whatever. So this is salt, so I'm going to put about 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt in here. And I did use salted butter too, just because I like the salt. Yeah, so mix this. So I know last time in the guacamole video I talked about Tozy, and I was trying to think of some funny stories, which I have plenty, so there's going to be plenty of stories while I cook. So we're going to mix this in here. A yeast, flour, water mixture. But I did want to talk about my first dog. So I had this dog. I lived kind of in a shitty part of a town, and there was a shelter right catty corner from my house, and I walked by there every day, and then one day they had these puppies out there, and I just needed this puppy. Story of my life, right? I need a puppy. And so then I got the puppy, brought her to my mom's house, where I was, or her workplace, sorry, I'm distracted. I'm going to add a cup more flour. You're going to add 2 to 3 cups of flour to, you know, just to mix it all. I need a paddle. Let's use this. So my mom worked across the street. It was just, you know, all within a couple blocks. I got this puppy. I walked over there. Well, so I asked the people at the shelter. It was like a really kind of like run-down, shitty shelter place. And they were like, oh, well, this puppy has heartworms, and if she doesn't get treated, then she's gonna die. And we don't have the money to treat her. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, how much is it to treat the puppy for heartworms? And they said $28. It's like, well, okay, I guess I'm gonna get this puppy and pay for her, you know, to have heartworm treatment. So they had a mobile vet that came, and I had to just bring her there twice. That was it. So anyway, I took the puppy, went to my mom's work, and I was maybe 18, 19 at the time, and you know, had this puppy. My mom was like, oh my gosh, you don't need a puppy, that's ridiculous. But I got her. Her name was Atira, and I did have a fenced-in backyard at the house that I was renting at the time, so everything was totally cool. And she was a German Shepherd Border Collie mix, so she was like basically the smartest dog in the world, and that caused problems. But anyway, I was thinking about her today because it is so hot outside, and I remember this one time, like I said, I lived in a really shitty part of town, and the people, my neighbors around me, were not smart. This girl lived like across the back alley from me, and I had left Atira outside, just, you know, she had a dog house, she had a bunch of water, and she had a hole dug under the table that she liked to lay in, and she was fine. I just like went to the grocery store or something. I was gone maybe an hour, and I didn't have air conditioning anyway, so it's not like she was going to be much cooler in the house. And so I get home, and my neighbor who had a dog, she had maybe a collie or something, but she was so weird. She trained this dog to use a litter box while she was gone. She just didn't believe that this dog needed to be outside, you know. It was strange. But anyway, I come home, and my dog is freaking hiding in her doghouse and won't come out, and she's completely naked. She had this beautiful, fluffy, amazing, thick coat, you know, which actually kept her cool in the summer. And I come home and she's naked. Not even just like a little bit of hair left on her. I mean, she is just skin. And my neighbor comes out. She sees me pull up. She's like, oh, I shaved your dog for you while you were gone because she was hot. And I was so pissed. Like, who does that? Who just shaves someone's dog? So anyway, poor Addie. I had to put sunscreen on her because her skin was like bright pink. Okay, so I needed the dough. Anyway, I was mad at my neighbor, and my dog was super embarrassed. And it was a mess, and her fur never really grew back. Ooh. Jesus. Okay. Oh my god, this is a mess. Okay, we had a little mishap with the camera. Went a little haywire. Anyway, I was super mad at my neighbor for doing that to my dog. And my dog was embarrassed forever, and her hair never really grew back. It was insane. So I don't know, what was that? I was adding 1/2 cups of flour at a time. So it was probably 3-ish cups of flour that I added. Well, and then I had handfuls until, you know, it wasn't sticking to me or my hands or the pastry board. So yeah, just knead it until it's nice and smooth and not sticky. And I'm going to take that bowl that I just kind of scraped around and put some oil in it. I'm going to need more oil. Okay, put this oil in it. and I am a mess when I cook, so I'm just going to take my hands and kind of rub around with the oil, and I'm going to put it in, and then I'm going to flip it, and then I'm going to cover it with saran wrap and a warm, damp towel, and put it somewhere that's warm, which isn't an issue right now because it's warm everywhere in this house. Oh, you can see my nice little dough ball. Yeah, and it's gonna rise for 2 hours. Do you want to see me struggle with this stuff? I hate this stuff so much. But, you know, it's gonna rise, so I always put the plastic wrap on there and then the towel just so the dough doesn't stick to the towel. So yeah, so what we're making some buns, and earlier I made these beautiful jalapenos, pickled jalapenos, so I'm gonna actually deep fry those and put them on the burger. They're cooling right now. And then guacamole, some cheddar cheese. It's going to be fantastic. But like I said, cover this with a damp, warm tea towel, and 2 hours. See you then. Okay, back with this dough here. It's nice and fluffy. So I'm gonna punch it down. This is gonna be a quick video, really. I think. So I'm actually gonna separate it into 2 pieces, and then ball these guys. And I have my cutting board because I'm gonna cut. So I don't have the pastry board anymore. And I have this cookie sheet here ready to go. I dusted it with cornmeal because that's how I like the bottom of my buns, nice and dusted with cornmeal. So I'm gonna kind of, you know, flatten these out a little bit, try to pinch together this. I'm gonna take a sharp knife. Do I have one? I do. And I'm gonna cut them into 4 pieces. This one's gonna be a little bigger than the other one, I suppose. Okay. Okay, had a little hiccup. So I cut it into the 4 pieces. And I'm gonna just tuck the ends under so it's a nice little circle. And these will poof again, so I'm gonna kind of flatten them out a little bit. And you know, I want them big enough to be burger size. So I have to bake them in a couple batches. Okay. Alright, so it's gonna go in there. I'm gonna do this with all of them. So I have another story about Atira. She was, oh my gosh, such a smart dog that it was frustrating, you know. She tried to outsmart me all the time and manipulate me, and she was just kind of a brat, but she was also amazing. She was a therapy dog. We would go to the nursing homes, or a nursing home on the weekends, and I mean, she was just incredible there. And so I have a ton of stories about her that are pretty awesome. But my favorite one is I lived in this apartment downtown in a town, and you probably already heard this story, but I love it so much. She got out of the house, or the apartment. It was like the 2nd story, so it was quite a feat anyway for her. And she ran away. She wasn't listening to me to come back, which wasn't anything new because she just decided when and what she wanted to do. And there was a funeral home catty corner from the house apartment thing that I lived in. And she ran across traffic, like a bunch of busy traffic lanes of it, and ended up over at the funeral home. And there was a guy sitting on a bench. Like, sometimes there's dog hairs that sneak into my food. It's delicious. And he was just crying, and she was up with her paws on his shoulders and just liking him. And I ran over there. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's like, nope, this is exactly what I needed right now. And that is one of my favorite stories of her. I'm actually gonna freeze these so that when I want buns later, I can have buns, because 6 is plenty. First, I'm gonna wrap this in just plastic wrap and stick it in the freezer. So here's my buns. My 6. This one's got a little bubble. And I'm gonna let these rise for an hour. So that's it. Warm spot, rise hour. Put the saran wrap back on them and the warm damn towel. So that's that. Okay, it's been an hour. So these are nice and poofy, and I'm preheating the oven to 375. I'm gonna make an egg wash, and I'm actually going to just use the yolk for this one. Sometimes I'll just use the white, sometimes I'll use just the yolk, sometimes I use both. I'm gonna go give Tozy the white right now. The yolk will make it more brown, and then I usually just use the white when I want to do something decorative, like wash with flowers or something like that. But I want these to be nice and golden, so I'm just going to use the yolk, and I'm going to use about a tablespoon of cream, and then we're going to whip that together. My whisk is dirty. I'm going to make this egg wash. And, because these are buns, I think I'm going to put a pinch of salt in it too, just a little bit. There's so many ways you can make an egg wash. Like, if it's a sweet thing, you could even put sugar, or just do the wash and then put the sugar on, and that's just a good way to make everything kind of stick. So my egg wash is mixed. I'm going to take my brush and just lightly brush on my buns. You just want to kind of be careful to not let it pool down at the bottom of your buns or whatever you're washing, because then you're just going to have like scrambled egg baked. So this brush isn't really ideal for this. It makes it a little thick, but that's what I have. So Josie's eating her egg. She's pretty excited about it. While I do this, tell you a little story about Addie again. She would go to the nursing home. She would go up to every single person and sit next to them for 30 seconds at a time. And then she would get up and go to the next person. And there were a couple rooms that she knew that were, that loved her specifically, and they had treats in their drawers, so she would definitely make sure that those were the first ones that she would go to. I kind of let her lead the way. She knew what she was doing. And there was a lady that was always in a wheelchair and kind of leaned to the side and very unresponsive to everybody for years. And, she would not look at Addie when she came and sat by her, but she would reach and just kind of like pat her, you know. And then there was this one time, and she would, you know, she liked it. So she's just, you know, not responsive. So there was this one time she was in bed, and Addie went into her room on her own and climbed in bed with this lady and licked her hands. Her hands were up by her. She was on her side. Her hands were up by her face, and Addie was just licking her hands and laying next to her and being so gentle. And this lady was just laughing. And the nurse said that that was the first time, you know, that she'd ever heard her laugh. And it was really special. We were crying. It was pretty amazing. So I'm just gonna sprinkle some sesame seeds on here because I like sesame seed buns. You could do like an everything seasoning, black sesame. It's good, but I'm just gonna do plain old sesame seeds. And then once the oven's ready at 375, I'm gonna just pop them in there for about 15 minutes. And we have burger buns. Okay, our buns are ready to come out of the oven. So, let's see what they look like. Oh my gosh, they're beautiful. Put this here so you can see them. They're nice and golden, and yeah, we'll let them cool. And then slice them in half with a nice sharp bread knife and put a burger on there. We're having jalapeno guacamole burgers and corn dip and fried zucchini for dinner. So, yum. That's Buns.